Thank you, everybody, for being here. And again, my name is Myra De Leon. I am the Student Engagement Intern with the Santa Rosa Island Research Station. And we're here and back with our, I believe, fourth installment of the speaker series for the fall 2021 semester. I just want to welcome everybody here. This is our biggest audience so far, so I want to, well, last time was just a practice. Let's actually clap for everybody that's here so far today. Thank you. So today we are joined also by the Channel Islands, CSU Channel Islands Audubon Club, who is having a paint night today. So thank you for being our lucky audience today. And we have some really cool canvases that they're painting of just different types of birds, and I would love to maybe show some of those at the very end if you guys can stick around. But in the meantime, we'll get going with our first speaker, with our speaker for today. We have John Knapp coming from the Nature Conservancy today. Just to get some house cleaning out of the way, we do have another 2 events coming up on November 2nd, I believe, and on the 16th. We will also have Peter Dixon from the Nature Conservancy speaking, and then the last speaker will be Noah Williams, who is the water program coordinator over at the Paiute tribe in the Owens Valley. So we have some really great events coming up. One last event actually tomorrow for any students that are wanting to get a little bit more information about our summer field school. It is interdisciplinary, so any major can apply for it. We're going to be having an info session tomorrow at Madera 2381, I believe, at 5 o'clock at Madera. So please, if you have any more questions about that, reach out to us. You can email us, find us on our Instagram or on our Facebook page as well. And all throughout campus, we went posters everywhere as well. So other than that, I am pleased to present John Knapp from the Nature Conservancy. I'll let him take over the event today. Thank you so much. We'll also have time for Q&A afterwards as well. So.
Well, thank you everyone for having me this evening. Thank you to Myra and Robin and Russ, who came on the laptop for inviting me, and for students for allowing me to come to campus and share what I do with you. And those folks that are on Zoom, thanks for attending.
Just have to click on this thing for a second so that it recognizes. Perfect.
So I just want to go over a little presentation outline. So first I'm going to talk about where I am now in terms of my career. I know I'm not on campus here, but where I am now in my career, what does my career entail? So what do I do in my daily job? Where did I come from? So who am I? What kind of led me to follow this path? Where did I want to go when I was young? So I'm trying to approach this presentation from where I was maybe at your age, and kind of thinking about, well, where was this road going to? And then I'll kind of go through a timeline of my career path, and then share with you kind of 6 takeaways. So where am I now? So my job title right now is Senior Island Scientist with the Nature Conservancy. The Nature Conservancy is, we work in 70 countries around the world. We have chapters in every state of the United States. And I work for the California Nature Conservancy. And we have several preserves within our local region here, along with Santa Clara River. We own most of the river basin, which I'm sure I talked about in this presentation. We own 76% of Santa Cruz Island. And at point conception, we own about 25,000 acres of the preserve of Jack Oregon. So my job as an island scientist is to help guide the work that we're doing on the island. And then just a little bit about my educational background. I went to many community colleges. I transferred to Santa Barbara in physical geography, and then worked for a number of years, and then wanted to go back to school and got a master's in science. So not that kind of weak science, but basic science. Just to be clear. So this was the region I get to work in. My job, for the most part, is all offshore on the islands of Fairlawn up north, which I haven't worked there yet, all the way down to Isla Natividad, Baja, Mexico. Primarily, I work on Santa Cruz Island, but a lot of the behind-the-scenes work of working with other land managers, collaborating, happens on the entail flight at about 17 islands of the coast of California and far on North Bay. So this is my office right here. This is the west end of Santa Cruz Island. So if you had the Santa Rosa Field Station to your back and you were up in a plane, this is what you would be looking at. This is Santa Cruz Island here, and we own going towards 76, which we co-manage with the National Park. This place is home to plants and animals found nowhere else in the world. Many of them have high level of endemism, meaning that they're very restricted. Many are endangered or threatened by the federal or state. And so these are some of the species we're trying to protect and the habitat that they live within. But the islands have, not just Santa Cruz, but many of the islands have undergone a lot of intensive land use that wasn't conducive to the ecology of the island. So a lot of farming, dry hay farming, there was vineyards on the island, sheep ranching. You can see all the dust and there's sheep all throughout here. That's just creating all this stuff. And so when the Nature Conservancy had ownership of Santa Cruz Island in 1978, this is pretty much what the island was like at that time. It was just denuded of vegetation. Another photo from the late 70s, just showing you the amount of erosion. And then you can then imagine all this erosion going out into the environment. What kind of impact that. The sheep browsing, this is an island oak, a very rare oak, just been listed as endangered globally by the IUCN. And you can see the sheep kind of on its back leg, trying to reach up to get whatever foliage.
Were the sheep also brought in?
So one question was the sheep brought in? They were brought in for wool, and because the island was so rugged, that it was feral, and it was not my environment. And then we had cattle on the island. Many of them went feral. Feral pigs as well. You can see all the breeding. Feral pigs are very damaging.
Much opposition to feral cattle.
Yeah, so someone from the audience talked about, mentioned how island fox would have a hard time living here with all these feral animals, and one being around them, but also just the damage to their food source, the structure that they live in, the habitat. Yeah, very hard for sure. And then we have small things like Argentine ants that we've been working on too, and fight off pollinators. So when native bees or come to pollinate a flower, they need that pollination to be able to set seeds. Well, these ants fight them off because they don't want that pollinator coming in because they tend aphids, which damage the plants and they deplete the energy that they're typically good food for. So using something as small as ants would not think that they would have to do, but they do. And so as of last week, we know of no more ants on the island. So we have invasive plants were also introduced to the island, both directly and indirectly. So like pampas grass was never introduced to Santa Cruz, but it blows over, which we believe, from the mainland or from other islands. So we have a large program to tackle that 34 species that's on our property. And so you can see with all these efforts to remove those introduced animals, those introduced plants, that the island has gone through a change. They can see very little vegetation here, and it's much lusher and greener in the other image from 2017. So this is a repeat photo monitoring by a researcher who has been looking at the island long term. And just from here, we can see that the island is becoming more revegetated and that erosion is decreasing. So on a day-to-day, what does my career entail? So a lot of the work I do is setting priorities. So I have to look at working often with a team. I work independently, but I'm mainly working with many teams. And we have to set what's our agenda. We can't do everything. We have to narrow things down. We prioritize. Then once we have our list of priorities, then we design projects to address it. So what is it going to take to fix those things? What is it going to take to stop it? Those are the kind of work that I do on a daily basis. And then, you know, money doesn't grow on trees. So a lot of what I have to do is support our folks in our organization that have donors for money, try to get support. Why is it used to work? What does it do as a you know, someone from the general public who might not even go onto the island? But why are the islands special? And then a lot of grant writing. So those English classes that I did not like when I was in undergrad, they have come in handy when it comes to grant writing. And then implementing those projects. So let's take one for example. We have 114 non-native plants in the island. Which one of those are invasive? We've narrowed that down to about 55. We looked at those 55 and thought, which ones can we actually have some action that we can take? So we narrowed that down to about 34. So now that we have a 34, what are we going to do? So that might include the pesticide application. We have a nursery on the island, building a nursery. So when I was a kid, we built our own house out in the dunes after that county, and knowing how to swing a hammer come in handy. Doing surveys. So I've learned from people that do search and rescue, people that fly helicopters. How do you look ahead? How do you look at something that is pathways? That's its own part of the show. Monitoring geographic information systems, so mapping using computers. That's a lot of what my implementation side. And then once we learn from what we do on the island, we try to export either if we have failures, what didn't work, or something does work, we want to share that. So that's a lot of how we treat the island preserve as that it is a kind of a research and development lab. We try new conservation science projects, try to advance them, try to do them cheaper, faster, and then from there export those. So again, I work a lot on my own, especially during COVID. I work a lot on my own, but I work a lot with. So it's really important in my job that I've developed skills that I can be on my own and get my job done, and then also working with a lot of diverse opinions on, you know, how do you get rid of 34 different? How do you get rid of us? Which plants do you protect? There's, I think we have 12 listed species on the Northern Channel Islands. Which ones do we target first? There's all kinds of things. And so it takes a lot of soft skills to work with people. I would say that's probably the hardest part about my job is in any of the jobs I've ever had is working. So here's a project on San Miguel Island, the other side of the Santa Rosa field station. And there's representatives from the National Park, U.S. Navy, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and Island Conservation. And there's rats on this island, and they're trying to figure out, is it possible to address the rat issue? And so we basically had a big session in the field, bring out our whiteboard, and trying to sort it out to see if you were a first one, is it possible? Part of my job also takes us to our Nature Conservancy, that point section. And here we're talking to the lead archaeologist at the Smithsonian Institute, looking at the archaeological and cultural resources that are on the property down in town and how those might be protected. And the fun part that I like is getting my hands dirty. It's very tangible to see an invasive plant there, and then you cut it down and it's gone. And it's very easy to see the fruits that you're doing. Where other jobs I've had that I'll talk about, you're not quite sure if you're doing a good job, or at least here, it's there, you remove it.
Why is the tree blue?
So this is a very surgical application of pesticides. So we make some blue dyes.
Okay.
The dye makes helps us make sure that we do a good application.
Got it.
And then also that we're not spreading it to non-target areas.
Okay.
So yeah, so this is to make this is a salt feeder on actually on Santa Rosa Island, and so we were treating it to make sure that And a lot of my work has involved helicopters. So I used to be on a board called the California Invasive Plant Council. They're an organization, statewide NGO, and there was a board member, our board chair at the time, Steve Shane, who had to say, deal with thought. And what he meant by that is that if another organization, if someone is doing something well, you should have no problem adopting what they do and doing your job better. And so what we learned working with folks in New Zealand is that you can do things cheaper and more effectively with a helicopter. Even though helicopters are very expensive, it's about $12.50 a minute to be in a helicopter. That clock takes pretty quick, but you could spend all year long doing the same amount of work that you do.
Wow.
So that's one technique that we learned, and then we've been exporting it, and other people have been adopting it around California and across the west of the state. So this here is Pete Dixon. He's one of your other speakers, and we're looking for a rare plant on Santa Cruz Island. And instead of taking hours to hike in, we can get there in about 5 days. So we can quickly drop people off where they need to be. This is a place where Rob and Shay and I have worked intimately, getting rid of campus grass. And you can't see it, but this is us right here on this section. There's a person right there.
Oh, wow.
So basically we hike down and then we're shooting it. So the work can be dangerous. As a kid, I loved to climb rocks. I loved to climb trees. Who knew that that was a skill set that I would apply to my job?
Wow.
I just turned 50, and I'm still doing the same kind of work. This is working with Fanny and Ed, working on a rundo. If you're familiar with that, it's another invasive plant, but again, climbing trees and tackling the rundo.
Good football move.
It's funny, always thought plant work was, especially invasive plant work, very exciting and energetic. You're jumping off the trees, tackle other plants. But now I spend hours and hours looking for very tiny plants with experts. And so these are all people that know Santa Cruz Island well, with Steve Knapp, who's kind of the premier botanist for the Channel Islands. Peter Schuyler has had a long career on the island, supervisor John Randall, who's worked on Santa we're looking for a tiny little endangered plant.
Oh my God.
Some of them are very tiny, so this gives you an idea of what we're looking for. So we're not using helicopters. It's many hours being bent over. You have to have a very strong back for that kind of work. Rare plant work is very much many people work. And it's not just helicopters. We also use boats. And you'll see in a lot of these slides, there's a lot of different people and photos of boats. And I have found that working with people, again, is the most challenging, but also the most rewarding. So this isn't our nursery. It's not fully completed yet, but this gives you a sense of another island nursery. But that's the kind of work that I do on a daily basis. These are GPS units that we're all calibrating our GPS before we go out and start mapping. And then a lot of what my job entails is these are all representatives from other islands, down on Baja all the way up to the Fairlawn. And we're trying to align our agenda, our conservation. And so each one of these people brings with them their mission, their guiding principles to the work, their priorities. And we're trying to figure out where is there common ground between us and what helps to be leverage, help be kind of like force multipliers and advance the conservation across the entire island, not just within one island. And so, again, this has been a very rewarding part of my job lately. It's a large team, and from there, we've had many projects that have developed out of just coming together and talking about what is important. So now you know what my job is. We can step back now and see kind of where did I come from? Kind of came from humble beginnings. We lived off the grid where it wasn't cool to live off the grid. We lived off the grid because there was not a power line close to our house, and we could not afford to have it put in. So we lived with lots of ice for 4 years. Wow. We washed clothes on granite rocks. We had to protect our cats from bobcats and coyotes, and that's what the cat had. I lived with lots of animals, pets, going to many, there's a swim in the shade, going to many national parks. I basically was a feral kid. So many times I'd almost been bit by rattlesnakes or seen mountain lions, run across the road. Childhood wealth. Yeah. It did. And there's me and all these photos with the red arrow. This is actually up in Big Pine Height Reservation. That's the commonalities with our other speakers. Nice. But my family was very active in Native American community in California, and I spent a lot of time on reservations, going to ceremonies, and I can trace back that this is where that spark of wanting to help nature, protect nature, to do my part as a citizen of the planet, to do something more than just take from. And when I look at these photos, I know that's where that spark is. And living feral out the moon. So, as I was growing up, what did I want to do for it? I had no idea. I had no idea. The scientists that were around at that time in my family, they never really spurred me to go out and do what they did. So I did what came naturally. I knew I liked nature and I liked science, but again, I did kind of what my friends would do. Or I thought I would do what I I could. So back in the day, when mountain biking was very well known, I thought, oh, I could really be a professional mountain biker. I built my own mountain bike. I got out of that, and I thought, oh, I'm going to be a professional skateboarder. After that, I thought I would go down to Central America and become a great surfer and become a professional surfer. Obviously, that didn't happen. So my career path was limited by those that were like that. And that's why I'm here to share with you guys and glad that you guys have this experience, that I never want to let me know what I could be at. So this is my career path. And I have this Facebook picture up here because I don't want it to seem like this is my career path is like Facebook, in that on Facebook everybody's happy. You only post the best photos. Everything's great. Well, I've had some real tough times in my life. Sometimes I haven't liked the people I worked with, or maybe I didn't like the job I had to do, or how the organization I worked with had to change. So it's not all peaches and cream like what you see on Facebook. So I just want to preface that. So right out of college at a UCSD, I wanted to help nature, and I had an opportunity to become a charter high school teacher down in Central LA and then over at LA. So this was like my first week on the job, and then here we were doing a career day for and when I was talking about it in basic plants, like the satisfaction you get from moving up the path, there it is, there it isn't. I had very high highs and very low lows. The low lows were I didn't know if I was always making a difference. And the times that I did make a difference, I was never come close to those times that I had. But the lows were so low that I knew that was not the good path. So I guess for those folks on Zoom, the bell shower is going to go off every 15 minutes, so this would be a good time to get a cup of coffee, I guess. But then I fell in love with this place. This place being Channel Islands, and I didn't even know about the Mexican islands until later on. I knew about one Lizzie Island, but I didn't know about all the others. And this place just, when I'm here, I feel I'm at home. And so I knew I had to do something to get us back there. So this was my career path. I got my bachelor's in '98. I got that teaching job in '99, late '98, and I worked there for a little under 2 years. And then I moved to Catalina Island and became a volunteer coordinator doing conservation work. I removed fences, I cleaned native seeds, controlled invasive plants, planted native plants. I got to do it all. It was a great job that allowed me to see a lot of other different stuff. And at that time, my wife said to me, she said, I told her, I said, hey, as a volunteer coordinator, I feel like I get along. I love the work, but I don't feel like I'm affected by people in that organization. And so she said, well, what would you want to do? And just asking that question, what would you want to do? Out of all the jobs you do, which one do you like the best? And it clicked. I like the invasive planting. I see the priorities. I like being out in the field. I like the map. I know that there's going to be an office component. I'm going to get older and older, and my field work time is going to be harder and harder. So I'm going to get an office component because my body's breaking down. If many field people can attest to for the checkers in the audience. And so I went back to school. I went to Cal Poly San Francisco, and then did my work on Catalina. So what I did, I did my bachelor's degree. I worked, figured out, okay, I want to get back to school. I need that degree, one, to give me money, more respect, all the things that I want, more, bigger seat at the table, decisions. And so what I did is I went to the conservancy and said, hey, what do you guys do? I want to go back to school. Here's some ideas I have. What do you want to do? What could I do that can make you? So they actually paid for part of my school. I got a pretty good stipend, not to go to school, but to do my master's. So I knew that with that work, that it would position me to get a job once I was there. So this is probably the first time I ever started looking at my career and saying, how would that get that? Not just what opportunities, actually being an opportunity. The person that had the job at the time was getting ready to retire. So I wanted to position myself to be the prime candidate once that person retired. I worked there for a number of years and then started my own private business. So I teamed up with a group of Zealanders who removed invasive animals all throughout the world. And we started doing plant work, and that's when we started using the hilltop. And that was great, but I missed being able to, it was great, I could work with anyone I wanted. I could choose any rock star scientist that I liked, any conservation hero that I wanted to work with, and work with them. But I wasn't tied to the language. I didn't have a piece of property that I got like I did in Catalina. So I really missed that aspect. So then a job opportunity came up on Fantasy with the Nature Conservancy. That job was promoted to a little bit higher, and it's still there. The one thing I just want to point out is that you'll see it's about 2 to 3 years I'm changing jobs. That's kind of important, right? Because I'm younger, I can afford the chances. I can go off on different paths. Different opportunities that can shift gears really quick. But then you'll start to see the period between jobs is getting longer and longer. So now I know what I want to do, and I'm planning further out. And I know if I stay in one place, I'll get more out of my job than switch. So this is kind of where I learned a lot. New experiences that gave me the skills to start doing my job. Not that I'm not learning here, yeah, but I now have a trajectory of where I am. So that's kind of where I've been, who I am, and so I thought I would just share some of the takeaways that I have from that I would pass on my son at 16. These are things that I tell him. So these are the things I'm gonna, you're not, you're young adults, but these are the things I would hope that you guys would learn from my experience. So who knows you best? It could be your mom, it could be your cousin, it could be your friend. For me, it's my wife. She knows me best. She's the one who said, what do you want to do? This is what you're good at. There was a job opportunity that came up several years ago with a federal agency. I thought it was going to be a great job. I always thought I wanted that job if it ever comes up. And my wife said, if you get that job, you're going to be like the Tasmanian devil in a cage. So she knew me well enough to know my strengths and my weaknesses to say, if you get that job, you're probably going to get fired. Because in the federal government, there's a lot of bureaucracy. Nature Conservancy, we're a very large organization. We have our own. It's not to say that we don't. But with that system, I would have just been like the devil. So listen to the people that are around you. You have this support network. Use it. Even if they might not know the career that you that is best for you, they can tell you about the personality that you don't see. I'm always surprised that even to this day, now 50 years old, that I'm still learning who I am, where I excel or and it's good to have someone help share that information with you. And we can reciprocate at the same time. I worked at a thrift shop, and the owner, who is a good friend of mine, who does a thrift shop, said, if you go to school, you should think of what you want to do. Don't think about what you want to do. Think about what you want to do. Now, I thought about it. I said, do I want to live in Iowa? Iowa does not seem that exciting. It's flat, and there's like one plant species. Yeah.
Corn.
And I live in Santa Barbara. I don't live like on the coast right here, but I live in Santa Barbara. I work in the islands. I've lived in the Central Coast most of my life now. I like the ocean. And so I found jobs that I could do in the coast that I like. So I'd encourage you not to go through school, not to do jobs that aren't going to get you where you want to live, because doing your work is great, but you're not at work all the time. So you should be thinking about where you want to live. The other one is, do you live to work or do you work to live? And what I mean by that is, do you want to have a rewarding Monday through Friday, or do you want to have a rewarding Saturday? I'm in class once a year. I want to have 5 great days out of the week versus 2. So even though my career does not afford me to travel anywhere I want to go, whenever I want to do it, and to have all the toys and the nicest car in the world, I still get to have a great time, but maybe I'm not, again, traveling, but these 5 days are incredibly rewarding. So I wake up, I get up thinking about work, not because, shoot, I got to do X, Y, and Z. I think about it when I get to do it. What features I get to get. The other is, are the people in the career that field that you're looking at, are they yours? So are they people that you want to spend time with? You're going to be with them 5 days a week. So you got to make sure that those people are going to be the people you want to hang out with. And by hang out, I mean you're working 9 to 5. I'm truly blessed that I get to work with a lot of people. There's so many people that I just don't have enough time to hang out with them all when I want to. And I can't stress how important it is to make sure that you're here for you guys with the people that see life the way you kind of see it, that are nurturing, that are supportive, have a good sense of humor. That's important. So when you're looking at a career path, look and see what kind of people are in that path. If they're just, business and just want to make money, and that's what you're into, then hey, you found good people. That's great. That same photo I had earlier, all great people. I look forward to every year that we all get to meet. So I don't have any other kind of slide or photos to show, but we talked about this earlier in the audience, was that networking and soft skills is so important because you are dealing with people. Work is working with people. Unless you're in the International Space Station all by yourself, then you're fine, but the skills you're going to have to be working with people. So these soft skills, some people are, I think, born with them, some people just. So it's good to work on this. I would say I'm an introvert. People will tell me, no, you're an extrovert. And maybe I'm somewhere in the middle, but I'm very nervous. I was nervous having a business talk today. And so, but I've had to learn to embrace. I try to go as many talks as I can because I'm developing that skill. Because if I don't do a good job conveying the work that we're doing is important, we're not going to get much for that. And so the more I can do, you're at a party and you don't know someone, talk to them, ask them questions. People love to talk about themselves. So you start asking people questions if you don't feel comfortable enough. Talking about yourself. People will just start offering stuff. And then you kind of get a feel for, do you like the way they talked about some things? It's not like that. And then you can learn how to better communicate and that. And that translates back into network. So if you can increase your soft skills, you're going to build a better network. So I've only had one job in my life that I didn't know somebody else. That's because I have a network. So in that network, someone said, "Oh, you did work? Oh yeah, I know. You did great." So you've got to build that network, and the way to get there is partially the soft. And then the last one, we're in crazy times, right? It's smoky out. I don't have to say the problems that are facing our mother right now, but if you are not in the environmental field or don't want to go there, you can still protect this place, still make it better with, if you're in the business, conservation is a business. Need those principles to advance. So if you had a business, you can apply those to conservation. If it's being a lawyer, you need attorneys, you need to settle issues that if you're in the legal space, buying land, okay. So there's a lot of different things. Artists, making logos, you name it. You guys are drawing right now in the audience, conveying messages, with art. Whatever it is, you can apply it to help you in the world. And I think your generation does that more than my generation did. Back in my day was, there's no nothing. And there's a thing called the greenhouse. Well, we don't even talk about those. And there's so many comfort stickers of different causes that pave the way, invasive plants, grow native, you name it, put it on and on and on. Whatever your passion is, you can adapt it to help you. So I encourage you all to do that. And with that, if there's any questions.
That was some perfect timing. Thank you so much, John. I'm just going to pop in here real quick just to say if anybody has questions in the chat, please, you can either write it in or speak up. You can unmute yourself and ask. Russell is taking care of the chat room. So Russ, speak out if you see any other questions come through. I see some stuff in the chat, but I can't read them right now since the computer's facing us right now. But does anybody have questions from the audience here? Let's go with Tiomara.
So for anyone that actually wants to go into the conservation field as a biologist, do you think it is worthwhile to explore an interdisciplinary approach? And also as a follow-up to that, what are some things that conservation biology, people who want to go into that biology field should keep in mind? Like, what is something that you say, yes, that's something that is needed, we wouldn't think this?
I'll give you one example that I think addresses this. So there's a woman named Jill. She's an archaeologist.
Hey, Myra, I don't know if you can hear me, but if we could get the mic closer to John for the answer to the question, that would be extremely helpful.
Oh, yeah, just walking closer.
Okay, so let me see. So the question was, do I think an interdisciplinary approach to conservation would be a good one? And what advice would I give for
an unexpected skill or something to keep in mind that one as a biologist wouldn't normally think, yes, of course, that is a good thing to know or to have.
So kind of like a aha moment of what might be a good skill or approach.
Correct.
So the person that comes to mind with those two questions, her name is Christina Gill. She worked on planet Earth Island. She's an archaeologist and a bot. So she's combined those two to help us figure out what were the islands like before. So some people come up from strictly archaeological approach, some strictly botanical, but she's been finding ways to answer the question of what is behind what and how might we restore them back to something similar using that skill set. So to me, she kind of, I don't know how she did it, but she did take that interdisciplinary approach and maybe can both that. Right? So not staying in your lane. We're all expected to kind of stay in our lanes instead of a career, and I think she took a different approach to it. Maybe she's one of she's the only one I know of who's really doing that, especially in this area. So yeah. So if you ever get to meet her, she lives in
So let's go back and forth between live people and the chat. Russ, do you see anybody in the chat asking questions?
I don't have anything specific in the chat, but I think that was Xiomara asking that question. I thought John's answer was great. And I also have a comment that I heard from a marine biology professor at Humboldt who would say, if you want to be a marine biologist, you can make yourself extremely marketable by learning to do both these things, to become extremely comfortable with statistical data analysis, while also being able to fix outboard engines. So I think that combination of the technical and the practical skill sets can be extremely helpful in this field.
Perfect.
So one thing, if I could add,
Yeah.
not being when I talk about staying in your lane, not being limited by that. When I came to the Nature Conservancy, some of the projects that were that we've done on the island or that have been talked about, it's kind of like society. Don't be restricted by what you can do. Think beyond that. What should you have? So I think if you think about what the problem is, then you can start thinking. If you start thinking about the solutions ahead of time, then you're gonna live.
So let's go to one in-person question. I have Robin.
Thank you, John, for your presentation. I recognize some of the photos. So I had a question, given your career path and the timeline that you showed everybody, how do you think your perception or focus or intention to control your networking changed from when you were doing field work and starting your own business in the field more versus being in the office more and picking and choosing collaborators or partners or funders?
And sorry, before John answers that question, let me just jump in and say, Myra, if possible, could you turn the microphone so it's facing John? Because we're actually hearing everybody else really clearly, and we're still hearing John, but I think that might help a little bit as you answer the question for the folks online and in the chat.
Turning it towards John.
So when you were doing field work, what is...
Yeah. That was all clear. Robin's question was totally clear. So, great.
So thinking about field work, 24/7, living with people, working with people versus getting to choose like partners, being in the office more, did your perception change as to who you chose, or I don't know if I'm asking that correctly.
Maybe let me see if I can answer. So and tell me if I just.
Yeah.
So when I was younger, I wanted to play. It didn't matter who was next door. I would play with the next door kid, even at my house 5 times. That's what you did when you're a kid. You play with anyone. As you get older, you get more choosy. And what I found with partnerships in particular is that to be effective, it's like assembling the drink. That photo of many islands, all those people were drinking them, and not everybody. But choosing partners that are going to help you advance your goals. So that was all very, so, but in terms of like office time in the field, it's kind of project dependent. And so there's times when my body cannot be in the field anymore, but still have to be in the field, you know.
Thinking about, when you're doing field work, there may be a lot of students who haven't done that just yet or have limited experience. And there's all different kinds of field projects and time spent in the field. In a remote setting, you're living and working with people 24/7 versus being in an office and you get to go home at the end of the day, usually. And your your criteria may be different on who you choose to work with.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, field people are a very rare breed. It's kind of like what Russ talked about. Somebody that can do the marine biology, that can fix that boat. That you don't always get that. You maybe get one or the other, and only one person can be in the boat. So you better find someone who can take 3 bullets. And you're working on the islands and fielding conservation work. You want to make sure the people that you're with are again kind of like-minded. It's choosing, are those your people, and maybe they hit 50% of your people, but maybe they don't have this experience, or they're not clean, like hygiene. There's times that Robin and I, where you don't want people cooking the food because they don't have very good hygiene, so you have to really make choices. And the better you are at your job, the more authority you have to get choosing who to work with and putting yourself in positions that you don't have somebody to pay and then and that's both the dirty side of field work. Yeah.
Okay, let's do. Is there any questions in the chat at all, or
so I'm monitoring the chat, and again, as I put in here, if anyone has a question, go ahead and put it in the chat, or go ahead and raise your hand. But since we don't have that right now, I'll ask the question, which is, John, you are in this really unique position working with the Nature Conservancy, managing the majority of Santa Cruz Island, working a lot on restoration and such, and you've accomplished a lot of great things. And what do you see as like both the greatest challenge and also the greatest opportunity in, say, the next decade in the work that you and the Nature Conservancy are doing on Santa Cruz?
I would say the greatest challenge, obviously climate change. I mean, we're in a gnarly drought. Plants are dying like crazy. It actually worries me how this drought's going to play out. Hopefully, things will change. So I'd say the great challenge is climate change, of course. But anyone can kind of say that's an easy one. I'd say a lack of people that don't feel like they can change. I would say there's going to be some apathy that's going to happen. So that people are going to feel overburdened, and I think getting over that and knowing that it's going to make a difference, that's a major challenge. As far as an opportunity, getting more people engaged. It's you saw that list of people that I have, that group shot. That's a good chunk of the people that are doing conservation. There's still more out there that's doing but getting more people involved. So hopefully somebody here is going to want to do work on the island. That's my goal. Even if it's one of you, even if it's remotely, that to me would be a win. So getting people involved and making sure that people have help, I would say that is a good question.
I have one question. Well, I just want to say thank you. I like the realism, but also the positive, I guess the positive affirmation about life isn't linear. And I think that's a pattern that we've seen throughout the speeches and the events that we've had here. And my question, and this is more of curiosity, it really not surprised me, but like it really kind of stuck with me is the photos that you've had between the kind of the before and after of the vegetation out on the island. And just last week I was reading about how the USGS was, trying to make cloud forests come back onto Santa Rosa Island. Is the Nature Conservancy a part of that plan at all?
Not really.
Okay.
That's happening in the future.
Okay. I was curious about that.
That's our work. Although our work is very much parallel in that we're not trying to reestablish cloud forests because Santa Rosa in particular has been so denuded. Santa Rosa has had 40 years of vegetation come back. Hopefully someday Santa Rosa can start looking at Santa Cruz in that regard. But we're both doing plant conservation. She's working on cloud forests. I work with Catherine.
Oh, cool.
We work more on rare plants. But Santa Cruz, the pines, like on the host and Rosa, are combing the fog, getting that history out. And all kinds of stuff. So that's what we do. So it's kind of tangent.
Yeah.
Not exactly the same. And we do a lot of, we're starting to do projects.
Cool.
So there's a lot of areas.
Cool. Anybody have questions? We have another question back here. We'll repeat your question.
Yeah, we need it repeated online. Thank you.
What was that last question? So a member of the audience asked basically chemist major in chemistry to kind of dovetail with the conservation question. So there was during the recession, there was a guy from Hawaii who teamed up entail manufacturers with a pesticide company, and with chemists involved are made out of silk, actually gelatin. And so they had to do a lot of chemistry to figure out how that pesticide be in a gelatin ball and not get deformed so that you could do very surgical paintball application of pesticides.
Wow.
So that's just one area. The ant work that we've been doing, that was it's a tiny polymer that becomes a fiber with water, swells up like 1,000 times the size or something. So a little grain of sand that turns into like a fiber. And then something there is the attractant, which is sugar. That always, a chemist was part of making this polymer. So you can come up with an invention that maybe is meant for one field, but then it's applied to another. So I would think there's so many ways that you can do this.
There's also, I think, like water quality sampling and possibly soil science.
Right.
As two other things that have kind of been looked at, or whether it's like a lagoon or a freshwater system, and especially with restoration and conservation, seeing how those properties change.
All the Superfund sites, there was I think story in LA Times recently about how many polluted areas are all throughout Southern California. How are those areas going to get through that? How's that correlated? Yeah. You're in a good field. Makes a huge change.
Are there any other questions in the audience at all? Yes, we have, and we'll go in order. Go ahead.
So you mentioned having to prioritize conserving endangered species. What are some factors that you consider?
So the question was, when we're prioritizing which species to protect if they're listed, what factors should we consider? So one is redundancy, or is there a number? Are we talking one population, one large population, or many small ones? So having many small ones, let's say, or let's talk about the island. If the species is on, in its former range was on all four of the Northern Islands, but now it's only one. Now, let's say we have a major wildfire. There's no redundancy. All the last remaining populations will drop that. But if we have populations on multiple islands, then there's redundancy. So there might be, landslide, fire that might pick up that plant population to protect them. So we've been with island scrub rays, we've been working with the park to try to get island scrub rays back to Santa Rosa, and part of that is to try to protect them so that they're moved back to town. The redundancy is one. Number of individuals is another. Are they going to be able to handle climate change? So there's some species that we could put a lot of time and energy into. If climate change keeps getting worse, they're going to be there. So maybe we have to cut off or we don't protect them on the island. We move them some sort of transit. So can they survive? Is there enough of them? And if there is redundancy to help them? Sure.
And then the next
I can barely, I'm sorry.
English majors. So how can English majors apply to conservation and the mission that the conservators, right? How can an English major get involved? Right. Just making sure that I have the question correct. So how can English majors be more involved in conservation and with the conservancy?
Because the Nature Conservancy, we have a set of writers that they're great storytellers, and they're English speakers with them. And so they know literature, they know how to write well. And so when I come to them and I say, I need a grant to study snails across the island. That doesn't sound very exciting, right? But they'll take that, and then they'll take I come from a science business, right? Like just the bare bones fact, very dry. The snail is rare, it's found here, it's there. Then they will get very wordy, they'll use much more laid words to convey that why snails are cool and important. So English majors play a big role in getting to do the conversation.
Does that answer those questions? Perfect. Are there any other questions in the chat?
No, there's no other questions from the chat or from the hosts or from the other participants. Last call for that, but no, I don't think so, Myra.
Okay, I'll come over then. It is 6:06 right now, so I do want to wrap up, but I do just want to, again, just do one more round of applause for John, since he took some time to come out. And we very much appreciate all of the really important information that he's given us today. And, if you're on Zoom, please come back for the next event as well. We're going to have Peter Dixon, who is also from the Nature Conservancy, on November 2nd, I believe. It's going to be 2 Tuesdays from now. And then Noah Williams on November 15th. And again, if you want some more information about the field school in the summer, that is the info sessions that are happening tomorrow in Madera 2381. Other than that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Again, I just want to thank the CI Audubon Club for being our live audience today as well. Thank you. And thank you so much for being here today, and we'll see you next time.